Live from Augustana College, this is WOG FM Radioactive. I am your host, Joe McCoy, and you are listening to the JoeDaBears Football Show. Today we will be discussing the Bears' very disappointing 24-10 loss on Monday Night Football against the Los Angeles Rams. It was a game in which the Bears looked like they had no chance from the beginning. They came out flat. They came out with no energy. The offense couldn't run the ball. The defense outscored the offense, which is just a laughable statistic in this game. And as a Bears fan, it was definitely one that was hard to watch. You think that, all right, we're on Monday Night Football. The Bears are 5-1. This is our chance to prove to the world that we're a real team. Everyone keeps saying we're pretenders. Now we can prove that we're someone to be messed with. And then we come out and just get embarrassed by the Rams. And I'm not saying that this means that we're a bad team or we can't go to the playoffs or anything like that, but it definitely hurt our public image as who we are as a team. Definitely made us seem like a team that is fake, is not a real contender or anything like that. So, our record is still 5-2. After this game, we have the same record as the Rams, so in that regard, we're even, but it definitely seemed like the Rams were the more complete football team last night, offensively, and not even defensively, because honestly both defenses played about the same, but the Bears' offense was just so bad that it made the Rams' defense look really good. So I didn't come out of this game thinking like, oh, the Rams are some crazy powerhouse to be messed with, but I definitely came out of this game thinking that the Bears has some serious issues offensively, and unless we make, I believe, honestly, the only thing you can change right now is personnel to fix this issue. Unless we make a personnel change on the offensive line, I don't see how this offense is going to get to a level we need it to be able to go to the playoffs and actually have some chance of making a playoff run. So, getting into the stats of this game, even though, to be honest with you, the stats don't really matter too much, but Nick Foles was 28 for 40 for 261 yards and 2 interceptions. So he actually put up a surprisingly high amount of yards, which I actually didn't really realize throughout the game. He did have about 2 to 3 big completions, which is where a lot of those yards came from. But he was just under constant pressure all night. Very minimal time in the pocket. No run game to be seen of. So the defense just pinned their ears back and knew that he was going to have to throw the ball. He had 2 pretty bad interceptions. One was really bad in the end zone to Darnell Mooney. He definitely should have just thrown the ball away. And this is the second time we've seen now Nick Foles. This is back-to-back weeks. We saw last week against Carolina. The Bears get a turnover. The next play, Nick Foles forces a ball, and it gets intercepted. So Nick Foles has got to stop doing this. We saw in this game, we get it down. This is our only first real drive of the game. We're actually moving the ball. We get about a 30-yard pass interference penalty. We're inside the red zone. Nick Foles rolls out to his left. His initial read was Anthony Miller, but the defender had really good coverage on Anthony Miller. He throws up a ball in the back of the end zone into double coverage to Darnell Mooney, who isn't that tall of a receiver. Ball gets picked off, and that was the end of the drive. And to be honest with you, that was basically the end of the game. Once that happened, the real chance the Bears had is they had to score a touchdown there. I think that would have made the game. At that point, I want to say it actually would have been 17-10, I believe, if we would have got that touchdown. So, would have put us back in the game a little bit. But once he threw that interception, you basically knew that all hope was lost. So he has to stop with the interceptions. I haven't really felt like he has added anything to this offense that Mitch Trubisky wasn't doing. I think maybe pre-snap he's doing more things and checking things at the line and making adjustments to the offense. But, I mean, you've seen that, Mitch Trubisky, for whatever people want to say about his talent, his play, his decision-making, whatever, the dude has a pretty good record in the NFL. And I know a lot of that is because in 2018 we had the best defense in the league. Last year, obviously, the whole team took a step back. But even this year, before he was pulled, he was 2-0. I know we were losing the game against the Falcons when he got pulled, but it's just like in games Mitch started, the Bears are 3-0. And then under Nick Foles, we're 2-2. So it's like, and I also know the schedule has gotten harder. I get that. But it just seems like, I'm not saying we should revert back to Mitch Trubisky, but the change to Nick Foles has not brought anything different or magical into this offense at all. It's the same short yard, kind of check down offense. And I think what it really has exposed is that the issue yes, it was partially Mitch Trubisky in quarterback play, but we just have some serious issues with offensive line, play calling as well. I believe it's more offensive line than play calling, but things that any quarterback would struggle in. And when you can't run the ball and you're averaging 2 to 3 yards a carry, which is just terrible, the defense knows that you're going to pass the ball. They just bring a hard pass rush. They limit you to underneath stuff, and you're never able to fully move the ball down the field. So I think that any quarterback, unless you had, maybe an Aaron Rodgers or a Russell Wilson in here, would struggle. And I think it's proved that maybe Mitch Trubisky was getting unwarranted, a little too much of the blame, when there's definitely were other issues that I had pointed out last year in terms of the run game and play calling and just players not playing up to the level they should be. So I think with Foles, I do think the deep ball game is a little bit better, kind of. We saw a couple of deep balls in this game, but to be honest with you, he also missed a lot of wide open deep balls. But the thing with Foles that we're losing is his athletic ability and his ability to scramble, because at least Mitch was athletic and he could run and he could get out to the pocket. So it made our offensive line look a little bit better because Mitch could avoid some of the defenders. But the issue about Foles is he's just a sitting duck in the pocket. So the rush comes in, he can't flush the pocket. He basically just has to take the sack. And I think what we've seen is instead of taking the sack, he's trying to throw up these 50-50 balls that are getting intercepted. And it's kind of like, we have a bad offensive line. Maybe we should play the quarterback who actually is mobile and can move a little bit. So the Bears aren't going to make that decision. Matt Nagy, has already decided that Nick Foles is going to be the leader of this offense. But if he keeps sitting in the pocket and getting hit and sacked, he got sacked 4 times in this game. But if he keeps sitting in the pocket and getting sacked, he's going to get injured, and Mitch Trubisky is going to have to step back in. So it's going to be interesting to see. But getting into the Bears' run game, David Montgomery had 14 rushes for 48 yards, no touchdowns. He did have a long of 11 yards on a rush, so that was nice to see. And I think what we really have realized in this game is that the Cordero Patterson experiment at running back is over. Cordell Patterson had 3 rushes for 1 yard. He got stopped on a crucial 4th and 2, which I don't think was a good play call. They ran a little toss play to the short side of the field on a 4th and 2. It got stopped. And Patterson, I don't know if he's not reading the holes right or what, but the Cordell Patterson experiment has not worked out. And I think we have realized that we're missing Tariq Cohen and kind of that his explosive and shiftiness. And maybe it's time to bring in Lamar Miller, who the Bears signed to their practice squad. And I think this might be a time to activate Lamar Miller and see if he can bring a different dimension to this run game. Because having 49 rushing yards throughout the entire game is just absolutely abysmal. And that's like the 4th week that we have seen this from the Bears team. And this offense is never going to improve until they improve this running game. Receiver-wise, the Bears' leading receiver was Allen Robinson, who had 4 receptions for 70 yards. 42 of those yards came on a deep ball from Nick Foles. That was honestly the prettiest play of the game on offense. Foles had enough time in the pocket, threw a beautiful ball to Allen Robinson, hit him in stride. Nice 42-yard gain. Cole Kmet was actually the Bears' second leading receiver with 2 receptions for 45 yards. And again, all of those basically came on one play, and he had a 38-yard reception. But I think what we really saw in this game, and I heard that Matt Nagy talked about this in his press conference, is that he has to get Cole Kmet more involved in the passing game. I think we've seen the past 2 weeks, first against Carolina and now against the Rams, that Cole Kmet is a very good pass catcher. We saw him catch his first touchdown in the NFL against Carolina, which he was triple covered, and he made a really great contested catch in the end zone. And now you see him make this beautiful deep ball catch for 38 yards over the back of a defender. And I think this is a guy that we got to get going more in the offense. And you can run more 2 tight end sets. It'll allow the running backs and the receivers to get more open. So I'm definitely hoping to see more Cole Kmet in the game plan this week. More passes of him down the field, getting him in open space. Because I think one thing that kind of that frustrates me about this Bears offense is I really liked what we've done with Jimmy Graham in the red zone, but I don't understand why they're using Jimmy Graham in these little short 2-yard, 3-yard plays, because Jimmy Graham is old. He's slow. I'm not saying that makes him a bad player. He's still very productive in the red zone. We've seen that this year. But in terms of Jimmy Graham in open space, he's not that great at yards after the catch anymore, just because he's simply old. He's 33 years old. He's lost a step. And again, I'm not hating on Jimmy Graham because of that, but it's just how football works. When you get old, you get slower. We see that with like Jason Witten and, older tight ends in the league, Greg Olsen, who's now in Seattle. It's like they're still good players, but there's just things that they do better and things that they do worse now. So I think that those little 2-3 yard plays that we see Jimmy Graham running, I think those are the ones we need to see Cole Kmet running, because Cole Kmet is faster. He can break more tackles. Take a 2-yard reception, turn it into a 10-yard gain for a first down instead of getting tackled. So I think that's what we need to start seeing more. And I think they just need to keep Demetrius Harris in there as a blocker. I know everyone was really mad about the drop he had on the first drive. I was as well. He did end up having 2 receptions for 15 yards in this game, but I think Demetrius Harris definitely needs to be the third tight end in this offense and be used primarily as a blocking tight end. Defensively, honestly, I didn't think the Bears had too bad of a game. It definitely wasn't their best game of the season, but to be honest with you, the main reason was because of how abysmal the offense was. The Bears defense was on the field absolutely constantly. The amount of times the Rams started a possession at the 40 or 50 yard line was just absolutely ridiculous. There's no chance for a defense to be able to hold up when a pretty high-powered offense is starting at midfield half of the time. But a bright spot for the Bears defense was Eddie Jackson in this game. He had the most tackles on the team. He had 9 total tackles, 8 solo tackles. He also had the touchdown, which is, of course, the only sole touchdown that the Bears had this game, on a fumble recovery that he took in for a touchdown. So I said it on the last week. Finally, Eddie Jackson was able to get his score. He's had 2 pick sixes taken away from him, but the refs could not take this fumble recovery for a touchdown away from him. So it was good to see Eddie Jackson have a good game. Roquan Smith had 8 tackles in the game, so another solid game from him. But honestly, everyone on the defense was it was a pretty average night from the defense. We only had 1 sack, and that was a strip sack from Khalil Mack, so we didn't get a lot of pressure on Jared Goff. There wasn't a ton of pressure from Robert Quinn. He was the one who forced the fumble that Eddie Jackson took into the end zone, so that was a big play by Robert Quinn. But you want to see more pressure from this Bears front four, and it just wasn't really there tonight. And I really think a lot of that was because of they were just so tired. They were on the field constantly, and you have no boost as a defense when your offense is doing nothing. You literally know that you're going to come out here. You have to stop the Rams, because if you don't, the offense isn't going to be able to put up points, and it just puts so much pressure on your defense. There's nothing for them to feed off of, because they can't feed off of a touchdown from the offense, because the offense didn't score a touchdown the entire game. So it was just, I don't put any of the blame of this game on the defense. I thought the Rams did some good misdirection that was kind of confusing us, especially out of the huddle. They would kind of break and have guys in motion and people shifting and stuff like that. So I thought the Rams had a good game plan to confuse our defense. But, we only gave up 24 points to a high-powered Rams offense, and I really think it would have been much closer to a 17 to 20-point game for the Rams if the defense wasn't on the field for just an insane amount of time. So I don't even really want to talk too much about the Rams game or the Rams team in this game, just honestly because nothing they did impressed me to like a great level. Aaron Donald had a good game. Aaron Donald ended up having Aaron Donald ended up having 3 tackles for loss, and he had half a sack. So he was pretty disruptive in the run game. But I don't think there was nothing from Aaron Donald that was like, oh, holy crap, he's the best defensive player in the league, even though he definitely is up there. We all know Aaron Donald's a stud. He's like Khalil Mack in that level. But it was just, there was nothing that the Rams did was I like, holy crap, this team could win the Super Bowl. They had a good game. They had a good game plan. But it was the story of this game is the Bears looking absolutely terrible on offense and not being able to get anything going in the run game and pass blocking or anything like that. So that's what I really want to focus on right now is this Bears offensive line, in which I thought this unit through the first couple of weeks was actually doing decent against the Lions and the Giants. I thought that Matt Nagy was using more 12 personnel, which was 2 tight ends, and we were doing more play action and we were establishing a run game. And I really kind of liked the changes that had been happening. It seemed like the offensive line was more aggressive. It seemed like they were pushing people off the ball. And then we faced Atlanta, and we end up winning the game. They got a little bit more pressure, but the run game wasn't able to get it going as much as I wished. But after that, we just faced the Colts, and the Colts just completely shut down the run game. And ever since that Colts game in week 4, it has been 3 consistent weeks of absolutely no run game. We've had under 75 yards rushing the past 3 games against the Colts. The past 4 games against the Colts, the Buccaneers, the Panthers, and now the Rams. We've had under 75 yards rushing, and there's just no way that you can become a high-powered, explosive offense if you're not able to run the ball and make the opposing defenses respect the run. So I think, like I said earlier, I think the only reason the Bears, or the only way that the Bears can fix this issue is they have to change the personnel. Losing James Daniels was a big loss. Rashad Coward does not deserve to be a starting guard in the NFL. The dude was just getting manhandled by Aaron Donald, and I understand that it's Aaron Donald, but he wasn't even putting up a fight. He wasn't even, I'm not asking him to blow Aaron Donald off the ball, but at least give Foles a second or two to do something. And you saw in the run game, Donald was just blowing right by Coward. You might as well just not even have put someone in front of Donald on a couple of the plays. So I think the Bears either need to go out and sign someone like Quentin Spain, who was released by Buffalo and is, last year he didn't give up a sack at right guard the entire season. He didn't give up 1 sack. So that's someone I would love to see the Bears get. Or a big rumor that I've been seeing is that we trade for Alex Mack, who is the center on the Atlanta Falcons. So Mack is a little bit older. I believe he's 33 years old. But I think Mack would be a really good person to get in here for the end of this season, maybe even next year. I'm not sure. But if you put Mack at center and then moved Cody Whitehair to guard to replace Rashad Coward, then I think you would have Whitehair, Coward, Ifedi, Leno, and Massey, and it's still not a great offensive line, but putting Mack at center would create a really, really good veteran presence for this offense. The dude has been a stud offensive lineman for his entire career, and I think moving Cody Whitehair to guard would help a lot just simply because Rashad Coward would not be in there. So the Bears have to sign an offensive lineman. If Ryan Pace is going to stand behind his word that he thinks we have a team that can have a Super Bowl run, then he has to make this change, because there's no way that you can look at this team and look at the way the run game is going and say that we have a good enough offensive line to win the Super Bowl, because we simply do not. Right now we're 5-2, and I think that the wins maybe had covered up kind of some of the issues. I felt like the Bears were in a good spot where they were winning, but they still realized that they had issues. But I feel like even though when you say we won but we still have issues, you still are more focused on the win and not that our offensive line really isn't good at all. And I think that this game really kind of exposed the offensive line that this is a bad unit. And I'm a very optimistic Bears fan, but this offensive line is bad. And we need to make a personnel change. We need to trade for someone or sign someone who, again, I'm not asking to go out here and sign a Pro Bowl guard or Pro Bowl center, but someone who will just be better than what we have right now, because we can't. Rashad Coward was a defensive tackle in college, and now he's playing offensive guard for the Bears. And I know the only reason he's in there is because James Daniels is out for the year, but that's how the NFL works. People get injured, certain people don't play well, and the Bears have such a good defense, and I truly do believe we have the offensive weapons to be a good offense. We don't have to be a great offense, just a middle-of-the-pack offense. And we really have the weapons to do it at receiver, and I still love David Montgomery. But the offensive line is hindering the entire team right now, and I think you have to go out and sign 1, if not 2 guys to shore up this offensive line. And if the Bears do that, I think then you could actually see a big shift in this team, and Matt Nagy being able to run the plays that he wants to run and being able to do more play action and spice up the offense, because defenses will have to respect the run game. So that really is the story of the Bears right now. We're still 5-2, and that's a big silver lining. But we have 2 big games coming up against the Saints this week and the Titans next week. So 2 hard opponents. I'm happy the game against the Saints is at home. The Saints are a dome team. So I'm hoping that it's cold. I'm hoping it's windy. I'm hoping it's nasty at Soldier Field. Kind of get the Saints out of their element. But, this is a big game. It's a 3:30 game. It's America's Game of the Week. So it's another not prime time, but a game where a lot of people will be watching. And, this is the Bears' chance to redeem themselves. I truly am a believer that a lot of times teams need a punch in the mouth and they need to get embarrassed to bounce back. That's kind of what happened, honestly, to the Rams the week before the Bears, the Rams played the 49ers on Sunday Night Football, and they just looked not like a good football team. The 49ers were more physical. They were better coached. They had a better game plan. And, Aaron Donald came out and said our defense was soft. And, they got punched in the mouth. They got embarrassed on national television. And then they came out against the Bears and looked like a really good, playoff football team. And I'm hoping that that's what the Bears can do. I'm hoping that you see a bounce back in the coaching staff and the players and just people, really coming out with a chip on their shoulder in this game against the Saints, because this is a very winnable game. The Saints are not the high-powered offense New Orleans Saints that we're used to seeing. They're still a good football team. They're still very well coached behind Sean Payton, but we can beat the Saints. So I'm hoping that the Bears come out here. They come out with just that nasty dog mentality, and that they're able to get a win against the Saints, move to 6-2, and that really would put the Rams game behind us and let all the Bears fans settle down. We're still all right. We still have a very good record at 6-2, and we're still in a good spot. So no, the season is not over, Bears fans. I know there are things that we're gonna have to work on, primarily offensive line, as I stated, but I think we need a bounce back week, which hopefully we can get against the Saints. And hopefully I'm talking to you next week about a 6-2 Chicago Bears team. The whole world can stop seeming like it's on fire and that the Bears are some horrible football team, but let's just hope that Matt Nagy comes out with a better game plan to, get Nick Foles more time in the pocket, get the running game going a little bit more, and that the Bears are able to pull out a victory. So that's all I have for you guys this week. Thank you guys for listening, and I'll see you next week, hopefully discussing a 6-2 Chicago Bears team. See you later.